The massive starship hung in the endless black of space, its metallic hull reflecting tiny pinpricks of distant starlight. Captain J. Park stood motionless, watching the Droo Empire's communication vessel approach. The alien ship was unlike anything humans had encountered before, a complex network of crystalline structures and pulsing energy conduits that seemed more like a living organism than a mechanical construct. Lieutenant Yuna Kim's fingers moved swiftly across the quantum communication panel. Her breathing was steady, controlled. Years of training had prepared her for this moment, humanity's first direct contact with the Droo Empire. The bridge was silent. 12 experienced crew members waited, their muscles tense, eyes focused on the holographic displays that flickered with intricate data streams. Each of them understood the significance of this encounter. "Incoming transmission," Yuna announced, her voice calm and clear. A holographic representation of a Droo representative materialized in the center of the bridge. It was a creature with multiple limbs, translucent skin that revealed complex internal structures and eyes that seemed to shift color with each passing moment. When it spoke, the language translated through advanced quantum algorithms, revealing a tone of absolute superiority. "Human vessels. You have entered restricted space," the Droo representative stated. "Prepare for immediate relocation or face standard territorial processing." Captain Park stepped forward. His movement was deliberate, calculated. He knew every gesture would be analyzed, every word carefully interpreted. "We come with a warning," Park responded. "Your current expansion trajectory threatens multiple developing civilizations. We are here to communicate the consequences of continued aggression." The Droo representative's form seemed to ripple, a sign of potential confusion or contempt. Its multiple appendages moved in complex patterns, suggesting an intricate communication method beyond human immediate comprehension. Yuna's secondary monitors began capturing massive amounts of data. Strange quantum signatures were emerging from the Droo vessel, scanning patterns that probed the human ship's defenses and technological capabilities. "Humanity possesses no authority to dictate galactic boundaries," the Droo representative declared. Its voice carried a mixture of dismissal and mild amusement. "Your species is young. Your technological understanding is primitive." Captain Park allowed a slight smile. The Droo had no idea what was coming. "We are not here to negotiate," Park said. "We are here to warn." The communication channel remained open, but something was happening. Subtle energy fluctuations began, spreading across the human vessel's systems. Quantum algorithms were being deployed, a technology so advanced that even the sophisticated Droo scanning systems couldn't properly analyze it. Lieutenant Kim's hands moved with precision, activating a series of complex protocols that had been years in development. Each movement was part of a larger, intricate plan that extended far beyond this single encounter. The Droo representative's form began to destabilize. Its confident posture shifted, revealing the first signs of uncertainty. Something was happening that defied its understanding of technological warfare and interstellar communication. "What is the nature of your warning?" the Droo finally asked, a hint of genuine curiosity replacing its previous condescension. Captain Park's response was simple and direct. "Some warnings are best understood through experience." As the transmission continued, subtle quantum entanglement protocols began spreading. The human vessel wasn't just communicating, it was fundamentally altering the communication medium itself. The encounter would be remembered as the moment everything changed, not through violence, not through traditional conflict, but through a demonstration of technological capability that would challenge everything the Droo Empire understood about power, communication, and the potential of an apparently young species. Research Director Seok Han walked through the sterile corridor of the orbital laboratory, his footsteps creating soft echoes against the metallic walls. Outside the reinforced windows, Earth looked like a distant blue marble, fragile and beautiful, against the infinite darkness of space. The laboratory was unlike any other research facility. 12 scientists worked in perfect synchronization, their movements calculated and precise. Each workstation contained complex quantum computing systems that hummed with an almost living energy. Holographic displays flickered with mathematical sequences that seemed to dance and change with each passing moment. Siak understood what most people did not. This was not just a research project. This was humanity's ultimate preparation. The Droo Empire's expansion had been systematic and ruthless. Dozens of emerging civilizations had already been absorbed or destroyed. Humanity had watched, studied, and most importantly, prepared. While other species capitulated, humans had been developing something unprecedented. A young researcher named Dae Sung approached Siak, carrying a data crystal that pulsed with soft blue light. "Director, the quantum displacement algorithms are showing remarkable stability," he reported. Siak nodded. The technology they were developing went beyond traditional understanding of space, time, and dimensional constraints. It was a method of collective relocation that would fundamentally change how intelligent species perceived existence. The team had been working in absolute secrecy. Governments knew only fragments. Military strategists had been given minimal information. This project was so advanced that traditional power structures could not fully comprehend its potential. Each scientist wore a specialized neural interface that allowed instantaneous data transfer and collective thinking. Their individual consciousness was gradually being synchronized into a more complex network. They were becoming something more than individual humans. They were transforming into a collective intelligence. Nearby computer systems processed incredible amounts of information. Quantum entanglement protocols were being refined. Mathematical models that seemed to defy classical physics were being tested and retested. "We have approximately 72 hours before implementation," Siak muttered, more to himself than to anyone else. The plan was elegant in its simplicity. The Droo Empire believed in physical conquest, in territorial expansion through traditional means. They could not comprehend a species that could fundamentally alter its own existence. Dae Sung pulled up a holographic representation of their research. Complex geometric patterns shifted and transformed, revealing glimpses of technologies that looked more like advanced mathematics than traditional engineering. "The displacement sequence is nearly complete," he said. Siak walked to the main computational core. It was a massive structure that seemed to breathe with energy, quantum processors, working at speeds that would have been impossible just a decade earlier. Their preparation was not about building weapons. It was about understanding the fundamental nature of existence itself. They were developing a method to relocate an entire species without destruction, without traditional transportation. The scientists worked with a sense of calm determination. They knew the stakes. They understood that their work would either save humanity or represent the most significant technological leap in recorded galactic history. Outside, the stars continued their silent dance, unaware that something extraordinary was about to happen. In these moments of preparation, humanity was about to demonstrate that true power was not about destruction, but about understanding and transformation. The quantum computers continued their silent calculation. The neural interfaces pulsed. The researchers moved with precision. The moment began without warning. No alarms, no sudden explosions, just silence. Across 217 human settlements, something extraordinary happened. Entire planetary colonies simply disappeared. Space stations vanished. Research outposts became empty shells. But nothing was destroyed. Infrastructure remained perfectly intact. On the colony world of New Terra, colonists were going about their normal day. Farmers worked in agricultural domes. Children played in regulated environmental zones. Researchers conducted standard planetary surveys. Then, in a single quantum moment, they were gone. The Droo surveillance systems went into immediate alert. Massive computational networks tried to analyze the impossible event. How could entire human populations vanish without a trace? No energy signatures, no transportation signals, no destruction, just absence. In orbital stations around multiple planetary systems, human living quarters remained exactly as they were moments before. Coffee mugs sat on tables. Computer screens displayed half-completed work. Personal items remained untouched. But no humans. Monitoring. Stations across different star systems reported the same phenomenon: complete human disappearance without any physical disruption. The Droo Empire's intelligence network went into maximum alert. High-ranking officials gathered in massive communication chambers, their translucent bodies shifting with confusion and growing fear. "This is impossible," declared Chief Intelligence Coordinator Zaran, multiple appendages moving across holographic displays. "A species cannot simply vanish." But they had. Quantum sensors detected strange mathematical sequences lingering in the spaces where humans once existed. Complex algorithms that seemed to suggest something more than simple transportation. These were not signals of traditional movement. These were something else entirely. Planetary governments tried to understand. Military commanders attempted to analyze. But no explanation was immediately forthcoming. On Earth, government buildings stood silent. Research facilities remained operational, but empty. Military bases showed no signs of conflict or evacuation. It was as if humanity had been lifted from existence without disturbing a single object. The vanishing happened simultaneously. Every human, every location, a perfectly synchronized event that defied all known laws of physics and understanding. Droo computational systems worked overtime, analyzing every possible scenario. Invasion? Impossible. Mass extinction? No physical evidence. Quantum transportation? The algorithms suggested something far more complex. Days passed, then weeks. The human settlements remained in perfect condition, clean, operational, but empty. Something fundamental had changed in the universe. A species had demonstrated a capability so advanced that traditional understanding of existence seemed primitive in comparison. The Droo Empire, for the first time in its expansionist history, felt something. Unprecedented, genuine fear, not fear of attack, not fear of destruction, but fear of something they could not comprehend. Humanity had not been destroyed, they had not been conquered, they had simply transformed. And in that transformation, they had sent a message more powerful than any weapon. "We are beyond your understanding." The universe watched, silent, waiting. Something extraordinary had happened. And nobody, not humans, not Droo, not any known civilization, fully understood what it meant. The data fragments arrived slowly, like pieces of a complex cosmic puzzle. Quantum researchers across the Droo Empire studied the mysterious signals left behind by humanity's disappearance. What they discovered challenged everything they knew about existence. Dr. Klin, a senior Droo research scientist, spent countless hours analyzing the mathematical sequences. His multiple sensory organs pulsed with intense concentration. Something fundamental had changed in the understanding of dimensional physics. The signals suggested a breakthrough beyond traditional technological understanding. Humanity had not simply transported themselves. They had fundamentally altered their relationship with space, time, and consciousness. Quantum entanglement protocols discovered in human research stations revealed impossible technologies, algorithms that could bend dimensional constraints. Mathematical sequences that suggested collective consciousness could be manipulated like a programmable system. Droo computational networks struggled to process the implications. These were not just advanced technologies. This was a complete reimagining of existence itself. Recovered human research data showed years of secret preparation, subtle developments in quantum mechanics, neural interface technologies that allowed collective thinking, mathematical models that treated consciousness as a transferable energy state. The breakthrough was not about physical movement, it was about fundamental transformation. Imagine a species that could exist simultaneously in multiple states, not just in different locations, but in different dimensional planes, a collective intelligence that could reshape its own existential parameters. Droo researchers discovered fragments of neural mapping technologies that suggested humans had been developing a method of collective consciousness transfer, not traditional communication, something far more profound. Each discovered algorithm suggested humans had been preparing for this moment for decades, quietly, systematically. While the Droo Empire focused on territorial expansion, Humans had been exploring the very nature of existence. The technological implications were staggering. Humanity had developed a method to exist beyond physical constraints. They were not bound by traditional understanding of life, death, or spatial limitations. Dr. Klin's research team worked continuously. They reconstructed human research fragments. Each discovered sequence suggested something more incredible than the previous one. Consciousness could be treated like a programmable system. Dimensional boundaries were not fixed. Existence was malleable. The Droo Empire had always believed in physical conquest, territorial expansion, military superiority. Humanity had demonstrated that true power was not about control, but about understanding. Recovered research suggested humans had been developing a collective intelligence network, a method of existing that transcended individual physical limitations. They were becoming something more than a traditional species. Quantum computers continued processing. Mathematical sequences danced across holographic displays. The more they discovered, the less they understood. Humanity had not disappeared. They had transformed. Their technological breakthrough suggested a level of evolution that made traditional understanding of intelligence seem primitive. They had found a way to exist beyond physical constraints, not through destruction, not through conflict, but through a fundamental understanding of consciousness itself. The Droo Empire watched, analyzed, tried to comprehend. Humanity had sent a message more powerful than any weapon, a demonstration of technological capability that suggested they were no longer just a species. They had become something else entirely. The universe continued its silent dance. Months after the vanishing, a single transmission reached the Droo communication networks. It came without warning, a sudden burst of pure information that overwhelmed their most advanced receiving systems. The message was unlike any communication ever encountered. No visual data, no audio signals. Just a complex mathematical sequence that seemed to pulse with an almost living intelligence. Droo communication specialists worked frantically to decode the transmission. Their most advanced quantum computers struggled to process the intricate patterns. What they discovered was beyond comprehension. The sequence contained more than information. It seemed to be a living algorithm, a message that changed and evolved as it was being analyzed. Each attempt to understand it revealed new layers of complexity. At the heart of the transmission was a simple text message: "We are everywhere and nowhere." Chief Communication Officer Vran stared at the holographic display, multiple sensory organs shifting with confusion and growing unease. This was not a traditional message. This was something else entirely. The mathematical sequence suggested a form of existence that defied traditional understanding. Humanity had transformed into something that could not be tracked, contained, or understood through conventional means. Research teams worked around the clock. They discovered that the transmission itself was changing their communication systems. It was more than a message. It was a form of technological infection that rewrote computational parameters. Droo scientists realized this was a final courtesy, a warning, a demonstration of capabilities so advanced that they made the Droo Empire's most sophisticated technologies look like primitive tools. The message implied multiple possibilities. Humanity could now exist in multiple dimensional states simultaneously. They were no longer bound by physical constraints. They had become a collective intelligence that could manipulate the very fabric of existence. Some researchers suggested they had found a way to exist as pure information. Others believed they had discovered a method of collective consciousness transfer that transcended physical limitations. The transmission continued to evolve. Each analysis revealed new layers of complexity. It was a living message that adapted, changed, and expanded as it was being studied. Bran understood something profound. This was not a threat. This was not a declaration of war. This was a demonstration of a fundamental shift in the understanding of intelligence and existence. Humanity had not been destroyed. They had not been conquered. They had transformed into something beyond traditional comprehension. The final transmission carried a subtle message. The universe was far more complex than any single species could understand. Technological evolution was not about destruction, but about fundamental transformation. Days passed, then weeks. The message continued to pulse through Droo communication networks, a constant reminder of something extraordinary that had happened. Humanity was everywhere and nowhere. A collective intelligence that could exist beyond physical constraints. A species that had found a way to transcend traditional understanding of life, consciousness, and existence. The Droo Empire watched, analyzed, tried to comprehend. But some messages are not meant to be fully understood. Some transformations are beyond traditional explanation. The universe continued its silent dance, waiting, watching. Something extraordinary had happened, and nobody knew its true meaning